so hard to keep it a secret.
It was so hard. It was so hard, and people coming over saying, "Is it you? Is it you?" And you go, "Well, yeah." You want to just go, "Yeah." Like, you end up just wanting to be like, "I die. It's me."
Sharon, nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you? I'm good, Brad.
Mo.
Great to meet you.
Likewise.
I'm Entertainment Weekly editorial director and awardist host Gerrad Hall. They shock us, they make us question humanity, they push moral boundaries, and in some cases, they commit some unspeakable crimes. And now they're here with us to turn up the drama on award season. Industry's Marisa Abela, The Handmaid's Tale star Bradley Whitford, from The White Lotus, Aimee Lou Wood, Severance's Tramell Tillman, Bad Sister star Sharon Horgan, and from The Boys, Antony Starr. It has become, in this digital age, increasingly harder to maintain secrecy around what is going to happen. What are some of the wildest or weirdest fan theories that you've heard or read?
Oh, the weirdest one for us was that people thought that a monkey got a hold of the gun and did the shootout. Because they were like, well, why would they keep cutting to the monkeys in the trees?
A monkey?
Oh, of course. Mike's a genius. Like, honestly. And then I think Michelle Monaghan just couldn't be bothered with that rumour, so she was like, that is absolutely not what happens. It's just not.
Yeah.
We had a fake ending on the call sheet. If we left our call sheet somewhere and someone then leaked the end, we didn't have the real ending.
And that was the monkey one.
Yes, they went with that.
That's how it got out.
Yeah, there was a different person's death. And then I started to think, but what if Mike is actually filming both? And there was a little part of me when I was watching the last episode that was like, what if that was the real ending? We got I didn't think we would get all the scripts. I thought there was going to be this kind of real top secret kind of, just giving us a bit at a time, but they just, all of a sudden there was just 8 episodes.
Wow, that's
in
great.
my Gmail,
great.
and the pressure felt, it's like, 'cause I leave my Gmail logged in on my mate's computer and everything,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
I'm like, I've got this sweat on, I'm like logging out of all devices because I'm thinking the most kind of precious thing is in my inbox now. But yeah, we got sent them all at once, so much pressure.
Of course it concerns me. Everything you do concerns me. I'm your life partner, Rick.
When I worked on West Wing, we had shot a couple of times around the White House, and if I went to the White House, the Secret Service guys would go, oh, hey, you can go through, and I had to drop a script off for Matthew Perry on the Friends stage. You just couldn't get in there. Like, they wouldn't take the script, you couldn't get in. Like, show business security always cracks me up.
What is an episode or scene of your respective shows that each of you couldn't wait for viewers to see?
The moment you ask that, I get anxious because when a scene is going well, I'm worried it's not going to cut well. I'm always, when scenes are really beautifully written, I had a scene that was actually strangely on Handmaid's Tale. I was directing, this was a year ago, but it was clearly a comic scene, and it was the most terrifying. I was in it, but it was terrifying because I knew it had to work, and it just gave me anxiety. You need security. I need to represent traditional Gilead values, so you can move in here with the kid if you want.
Nice to stay on your toes a little bit and have that little fire burning under of...
Yeah, there's something in that. I like being on the edge of failure. There was an episode in which my character went back to the people that abused him and in this lab. Superman goes back to the lab where he was raised and exercises demons. It's like a therapy session with lots of killing and all this. And I went to our boss, Eric, and said, okay, I think we can get more out of what's on the page, and we workshopped it, and then we went in to shoot it, and I did the first take of one of these scenes, and I had it in my head, I'm gonna laugh hysterically, maniacally. And so I did it, and there was like, in front of the crew and everyone, there was crickets. And I was like, it's not gonna work, but I think it can, I want it. I'm gonna give it a shot. I did, and there was silence the whole day, and I didn't know if it had worked or not. But then when you saw the sequence come out, and it did hang together pretty well. It was the process, though, of being right on the edge of, I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but that's, to me, the most rewarding place to be. Really, right in that it could go either way.
Any quirks or habits of your characters that have stuck with you?
We introduce like a lot of Irish vernacular kind of things. So they, I mean, and I use them a bit in everyday life, but they always stick with you a bit more at the end of filming. And you know, like every time I message my daughters, I call them girleens because we would use girleens. The sisters would use girleens in the show. More Irish swear words and call everyone a wagon. Yeah.
Swear to God, I've never wanted to kill that wagon more.
What wagon did you want to kill?
I love you talked about language because that's been a big draw for my character now. He's very driven and policed about his vernacular. And so ever since I played this character, now my vocabulary has expanded and I get mocked and teased about the big words that I use just on an everyday basis.
Friends?
Yeah, friends of mine. It's like, oh, there's Tramell using those big words. It's like, guys, you must eradicate from your essence childish folly. But like as a kid, I used to love language. I used to have to do a word of the day. My father was very passionate about us expanding our vocabulary, and that kind of died as I got older. And this character came along, and he had an extensive vocabulary, and I was like, oh, I can love words again.
Devour feculence.
In television, you get this long relationship with the character, with an audience. You don't get that in a movie, because the entire time you shoot a movie, you're like, I don't know, this works. No idea.
I don't know if you felt this like going into a second season where you almost aren't sure if you're doing it the right way, because even though you've built up this comfortable, you know, relationship with your co-stars and you know your audience, if there's been, you know, a nice reaction to your show and you like slip back into it, you're kind of like, you don't even feel, you feel like you're kind of, you know,
Mimicking it.
mimicking it exactly.
Right.
And even though it's more comfortable in a lot of ways, it takes a little while for you to just sort of relax enough to
The
go.
difficult second album. Oh, we did it okay the first time, and we were praised for it.
That's it.
Now you got to put your second album out.
Yeah.
And it's like touch or go whether it's going to work.
Yeah.
Everyone on this panel, except for you, Aimee, plays morally gray characters. So I'm curious what each of you have found was like your way in to find the humanity in them. Because for someone like Commander Lawrence, sure, he's one of the architects of Gilead, but we also saw some altruistic moves when he helps, you know, June get the baby into Canada. So how do you find that?
And Dowd, in the name of God, how can you do those things and remain redeemable? And it's an interesting part of the show to me that Lizzie's character is basically blowing on the spark of decency. And it's a kind of hopeful message that I hope people are getting at this moment. That it comes from June's character, which is despair is a luxury that our children cannot afford, and action is the antidote to despair. And she is doing that with everybody. As a young actor, I felt like I was trying to narrow it down to what a character was, and with this guy, I got to kind of open up the aperture, which was interesting to me, you know, also ethically. It was nerve-wracking because he was disappointing often.
Is that humanity a tough thing for you to find?
The tricky thing was keeping an audience on the sisters' side,
Right.
you know, when they keep trying to kill the same man.
I think someone's trying to kill him.
That's insane. We weren't really worried about an audience forgiving them or getting on side or any of that. It was more sort of in the second season when I sleep with my dead sister's husband. I swear to God, that got such a, to me, sort of surprising reaction because I always wanted to, you know, create a love story that people sort of, despite themselves, rooted for. Like, that doesn't seem right, but she's been alone for a long time, and like maybe this is a good thing, but people didn't like it at all.
It's interesting what people respond to.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of guys that we all kind of knocked them down a little bit on social media and said, this guy is not the hero of any story. That we're really glorifying. They loved him, which is surreal.
But let's get one thing straight. There's no team up. We're not equals. You're pathetic. You can't even fly, for God's sakes.
What I didn't expect was that people would be so conflicted around it. And, finding themselves feeling empathy for this monster.
Obviously, you deal with like violence in your show, but for these...
We do.
Yeah. But
Pops up.
For these people who don't usually they're bankers, you know what I mean? They don't usually deal in that language. So for me, it's my favorite thing, playing a person who is kind of doing something that is alien to them, like doing something for the first time. I love watching someone smack someone, thinking like, Yasmin's never smacked anyone before. In the script, it was that Yasmin slapped Harper and that Harper doesn't slap Yasmin back. And my Harlow rang me like 2 days before we filmed that scene and was like, there's no way. There's no way that you're gonna slap me. That Harper would just smack you back.
Of course.
And so we spoke to the writers about it and they were like, yeah, smack each other. So I think it's really interesting to watch like two young women that are friends, like, and that love each other a lot, get to a place where like violence is kind of the only thing left. And they don't want to hurt each other, but they do. And I think you see in both of their eyes, like,
I needed my friend today. Harper, I needed my friend and you used me.
I think people are more scared as well and therefore get more angry and reactive about things that feel more exposing to them and closer to the... So like with the killing, it's a safe distance.
Yeah.
So people watching can go girlies, get him.
Right.
They don't feel exposed by that because they might not have ever been plotting to kill, so they probably haven't. Whereas like
banging your brother-in-law.
Close to home. Kind of, but like love, and those kinds of things. People are sat there going, and it's almost more
Hotter.
No.
That came out totally wrong.
Did you say hotter?
I meant morally hotter.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's
Is that what you meant?
In White Lotus, people were more angry about Rick saying like "shut up" to Chelsea than they were about him killing a man.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think it's because it's that, and a lot of guys watching it were really like, this dude, because they're like, oh, shit, have I ever spoken to Matt? It feels exposing. So I think the things that people get really
hot about,
because it's closer to them.
What do you think makes for a good ending?
Well, I never got more comments than on the last season of Catastrophe because we left it up to the audience to kind of write their own ending. Sometimes I think just give the people a happy ending or like tie things up but then it's I guess it's the unexpected, isn't it? It's like you think it's going one way and it kind of does go that way, but in using a route that you didn't expect.
But also it's got to be true to the world of the show, not the dictates of the fans.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a trap that people fall into, worrying about trying to get it right.
By the way, I know it's not the end of Severance, but that as an ending to a season balanced that thing of expectation with curveballs in a really satisfying way.
Yeah. Has Milchick started to turn against Lumen after the way the board treated him?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's more to mine in his story, and especially in his journey. I mean, this man has committed so much of his time and his life to this corporation, and why, it's unclear. I think it goes back to what you all were talking about when you speak about villains and the characters and whether or not you side with them or you don't, or you understand their reasonings. And right now we don't have the material of why Milchick does what he does. But it's really fun to be able to step in these shoes and find some level of humanity in there and keep that going. And I'm grateful that there's still that mass audience that have not decided who he is. That's what's really fun.
What was your reaction when you learned about Milchick's extended choreography and merriment sequence in that finale?
So I was reticent about doing the whole choreography at all. you know, because we did the music dance experience in season 1. So I didn't want to try to recreate this thing, you know. But then Ben told me that there's a marching band. And I said, I can't
Like, I'm in.
say no
I'm
to
in.
that. You know, I'm like, let's do it. I went to an HBCU. I actually went to 2 HBCUs, and I was always fascinated by the bands, and I never had the opportunity to play in the band. I definitely didn't have the opportunity to direct one. So this was my opportunity, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
It's his Beyonce homecoming moment.
It is. Yeah, it's like Milkchella.
There you go. What is it like watching your show take on a life of its own and viewing it through the lens of social media?
I think that once it's out there, it just becomes really fun.
Yeah.
But when it was a secret and it was actually really funny because we were it was this heavy thing. And then the first episode came out and you just see how everyone's like, Parker Posey's so funny! And you're like, oh, it's fun.
Right,
It's like a fun thing. And then I remembered being a fan of the first 2 and thinking how fun, it's White Lotus night. It felt like I was a fan again. And I felt like part of the audience. So then I could, because I was a super fan before, you know, the first 2. I've got a bucket hat that says these gays are trying to murder me. I am a fan. So it was really nice to go back to being that. And
Where
then,
do you wear that hat?
Out and about. Out and about. Yeah.
If you could be on any of your fellow panelist shows, which one would it be and why?
Well, for the shoot, I mean.
Thailand.
Thailand.
Amy's like,
So it was hot. Hot.
It was very hot, but it was amazing.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people have booked holidays to Thailand.
Apparently, the
Tourism's way up.
booming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Gilead is for lovers.
Yeah.
I did a Tourism Ireland ad. My dad said, best thing you've ever done. I'm like, really?
Thanks, Dad.
Marisa, which show would you want to be on?
I think Severance is so special. I think it really requires a level of like dexterity as an actor as well, just to kind of be playing all those different people in one and all of the. I think it would be I think it would force you as an actor to not play the same human that you've played before. And I think for that reason, it feels slightly other, Severance in that way. So I think that would be fun.
I feel like I could be a long lost sister.
We'd love you to be at least a cousin.
And I am half Irish.
There you go.
There we go.
So
Bad cousins.
bad cousins.
Set up a writer's room immediately as soon as I leave here.
Which one for you?
I couldn't go away for that long.
6 months, right?
7.
7.
That last month is really it was a lot
7.
because it was supposed to be
It's a long
6, and then it was sorry,
It
not
was-
finished yet.
It was hot the whole time?
It was very hot, and you live in the hotel that you're filming in, so there's no so it is the Truman Show.
Do you get bored of the buffets?
Yeah,
I'm just assuming there's buffets.
and I'm quite a homesick girlie.
Oh, honey.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was amazing and very transformative, but
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
it is like a reality show.
But so
They're,
not
they're
white.
Shakespearean. Like Handmaid's Tale for the hats. I don't know.
The hats.
Handmaid's Tale for the hats.
No, but then you're asking. You're
That's what I
asking.
was going to say. Handmaid's Tale for the hats.
Okay. Mel, you get final word here.
So I heard that Milchek would make a fantastic hotel manager.
That would be incredible. That would be amazing.
You would be an incredible hotel.
So, yeah.
Congratulations on these performances, on your shows. It's been a great thrill to watch them and have you all here. Cheers. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Very
Yeah.
much.
Cheers again? No.
Cheers.
You sure? Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
There we go. Oh, gotta make it all that way. Cheers, cheers, cheers.